Most people who make it through hard seasons don't look heroic while they're in them. They look tired, distracted, unsure, sometimes even invisible. The first real skill is learning to tell the truth to yourself about where you actually are, not where you wish you were, not where people think you are, where you are right now in money, energy, habits, relationships, and confidence. This matters because decisions built on fantasy always collapse. A common blind spot is pretending things are fine while quietly drowning, or exaggerating how bad things are and using that as an excuse to stop trying. Real life looks like waking up, checking your bank balance, going to a job you may not love, and still choosing to show up. The practical move today is simple and uncomfortable. Write or say out loud what is actually working and what is not. No drama, no shame. Just facts. This grounds you so the next choices are based on reality instead of emotion. Once you see reality clearly, you start to understand that emotional weight is not the same as objective danger. Many people confuse stress with failure. They feel pressure and assume something is wrong with them. In real life, pressure often means you are stretching beyond your old limits. The mistake is either numbing out with distractions or exploding emotionally and burning bridges. A real-world version of this is snapping at coworkers, ghosting people, or quitting something impulsively because it feels heavy. Applying this today means learning to separate "this is hard" from "this is impossible." When you feel overwhelmed, pause and ask what specific part is heavy. Then deal with that piece, not your whole life at once. This builds emotional control that you will need when responsibilities increase. As pressure grows, your inner voice becomes louder. This is where many people lose the fight without realizing it. The story you tell yourself about what things mean shapes your behavior more than the facts do. A blind spot is assuming your thoughts are truth. I'm behind. I'm not built for this. Other people have it easier. These thoughts feel real, but are not evidence. In real life, two people can face the same situation and come out with different futures based on how they interpret it. Today, practice catching one negative thought and replacing it with a neutral one. Not fake positivity, just neutral accuracy. This is hard and I'm still here. This keeps you in the game long enough to build real momentum. Momentum is not created by motivation. It is created by small, boring actions done consistently. Most people wait to feel ready. That is a trap. Readiness comes after movement, not before. A common mistake is trying to overhaul your entire life in a week, burning out, then giving up. Real-world growth looks like showing up to work on time, making one smart financial decision, or improving one skill slightly. Today, pick one small action that improves your situation even 1%. Do it even if it feels pointless. These small actions stack and become evidence that you are someone who moves forward. As you move forward, you start noticing how your environment either supports or drains you. This includes people, places. A blind spot is staying in environments that quietly pull you backward because they feel familiar. That can be friends who normalize quitting, spaces that distract you, or habits that waste energy. In real life, this might look like spending hours scrolling instead of sleeping, or staying around people who complain but never act. Today, remove or reduce one small drain. One app, one conversation, one habit. This frees up energy you will need for harder decisions. Energy management becomes more important than time management. You can have free time and still feel exhausted if your mind is overloaded. A mistake is treating rest as weakness or treating exhaustion as normal. In real life, this leads to mistakes, irritability, and slower thinking. Practical application today means protecting sleep, eating something decent, and giving your brain short breaks from noise. This is not luxury. This is maintenance. A clearer mind makes better choices, and better choices create better options. As clarity improves, responsibility becomes unavoidable. At some point, you have to accept that no one is coming to rescue you. This is not cruel. It is empowering. The blind spot is blaming systems, people, or past events for everything, even when some control is still in your hands. In real life, this looks like waiting for a better job to magically appear instead of building skills, or waiting for motivation instead of building discipline. Today, take ownership of one thing you've been avoiding. Make the call, send the message, do the task. Ownership builds self-respect, and self-respect changes how you carry yourself. When you carry yourself differently, people respond differently. This is subtle but powerful. Confidence is not loud, it is consistency. A mistake is trying to prove yourself instead of quietly becoming reliable. In real life, this shows up as over-explaining, seeking validation, or talking big without follow-through. Applying this today means doing what you say you will do, even in small things. This trains others and yourself to trust your word. Trust becomes social capital, and social capital opens doors you can't force open. As doors start to crack open, comparison becomes dangerous. You will see people who seem ahead, richer, happier, or luckier. The blind spot is using someone else's highlight reel to judge your behind the scenes. In real life, this kills momentum and breeds resentment. Today, limit comparison by focusing on your own measurable progress. What is better than 3 months ago? Even if it's small, name it. This keeps your attention on growth instead of distraction. Growth brings mistakes. Not maybe. Definitely. The difference between people who stagnate and people who rise is how they use mistakes. A common mistake is turning errors into identity. I messed up, so I am a mess up. In real life, this leads to hiding, lying, or quitting. Practical application means reviewing what went wrong without self-attack. What did this teach me? What will I do differently next time? Mistakes become training if you let them. This makes you harder to break the next time pressure hits. As you get harder to break, boundaries become necessary. You can't carry everyone's problems and still build your own life. A blind spot is confusing kindness with self-sacrifice. In real life, this looks like always saying yes, lending energy you don't have, or staying in draining situations out of guilt. Today, practice one small boundary. Say no politely. Protect your time. Choose your own long-term stability over short-term approval. This teaches others how to treat you and teaches you that your future matters. With boundaries, your focus sharpens. You start to see what actually moves your life forward versus what just keeps you busy. A mistake is mistaking activity for progress. In real life, this is doing a lot but improving little. Applying this today means identifying one activity that directly improves your income, skill, or stability and prioritizing it, even if it's uncomfortable. Focus compounds. Scattered effort does not. As focus compounds, identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying and start seeing yourself as someone building. The blind spot is still mentally living in your old story, even when your actions are changing. In real life, this shows up as self-doubt, even when evidence says you're improving. Today, start speaking to yourself as someone in progress, not someone stuck. This is not ego. It is alignment between who you are becoming and how you think. Eventually, resilience becomes part of how you operate. Hard days still happen, but they no longer define you. A mistake is expecting life to get easy and feeling betrayed when it doesn't. Real life stays demanding. The difference is you become more capable. Practical application is simple and powerful. When a bad day hits, don't quit your whole life. Just get through the day without making it worse. Protect your basics. Show up. This keeps long-term momentum intact. At this point, something subtle happens. You stop needing external validation to keep going. You begin to trust your own process. The blind spot is still looking outside for permission to believe in yourself. In real life, this looks like waiting for praise, promotion, or recognition before feeling proud. Today, acknowledge your own effort. Quietly, internally. This strengthens your internal compass, which matters when no one is watching. From here, your growth is no longer just about survival. It becomes about direction. You start asking where you're actually heading, not just how to get through the week. This is where real responsibility and real freedom meet. You're no longer just reacting. You're choosing. And once you're choosing, the next layer is not about working harder, but about working smarter with the life you are building. You begin to notice that the way you think about time, risk, and long-term planning starts to change. You're not just trying to fix today's problem. You're quietly shaping tomorrow's position. This is where patience becomes a skill, not a personality trait. In real life, this looks like making decisions that won't pay off immediately but will change your leverage later. The work continues, but now it's guided by a deeper sense of where you're going and what kind of life you are actually constructing, piece by piece. even on days when it doesn't feel impressive.